The power is shifting from the fiat money world to the Bitcoin world. And the Bitcoiners are starting to have a lot of political clout in Washington. They're having political clout in different countries around the world. They're having clout within corporations that are, pushing for greater Bitcoin exposure on the balance sheet.
Hello and welcome to Wealthy Value. In today's video, Bitcoin maximalist Max Keiser updates about Bitcoin market outlook in 2022, the key takeaways from 2022 Bitcoin conference, institutional adoption of Bitcoin, and why we are living in a Michael Saylor era. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video, where Max Keiser addresses the Bitcoin market crashes and volatility. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. Let's dive right into the video.
Well, every year, these Bitcoin events, the quality of the tailoring and suits goes up. Over the years, now we're at Bitcoin 2022, and you've got people like Kevin O'Leary and Michael Saylor and Scaramucci and these folks who are very dapper, very finely coiffed, very professional, and part of the mainstream media. And so Bitcoin has a different sheen, a different look at these conferences. But the message is largely the same. The thing about Bitcoin is everything was in the Genesis block, and no one has really had anything original to say about it for years now, because it's the protocol itself is the standard around which all other forms of value and money are migrating toward. So that's really the only message, Andy, is that we used to say software is eating the world. And the iPhone has 30 different devices or more that you used to carry around, and it's all in one iPhone. This is Bitcoin, is eating value around the world, whether it's cash, stocks, bonds, commodities. It's all going to end up in Bitcoin. And that's the big trend, that's just been true since day one, and it'll be true for the next 10 years. Going back to Prague in 2011, the company there, that was the first company really formed that was seeking funding and was going to kick off like a venture capital move, was BitPay, which had positioned itself was going to be the PayPal of Bitcoin. And they would seek relationships with retailers, and they were going to do you could use Bitcoin at the point of sale. That was the focus of, I would say, from a commercial perspective. Kind of overall mission of Bitcoin over the years has changed somewhat. It became less about the medium of exchange. People kind of ratcheted it all back and say, wait a minute, let's talk about Bitcoin as store of value and get that story straight first, that it's synthetic, digital, absolutely scarce commodity, and it's money, and it's perfect money. And let's get that figured out and well established first. And this led to the whole confrontation in 2017, the block size wars and the New York Agreement. And you had the showdown between those who were looking for bigger blocks and that there should be more transactions, and there's competition with Visa and MasterCard, and that's what Bitcoin's all about. They failed against the nodes, and the nodes are securing the network, and the network secures money. So then flash forward to Bitcoin 2022, and Jack Mallers is talking about being able to go into the store and use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange using the Lightning Network to what the deal he just cut with NCR, National Cash Register. So there's kind of a full circle here, that I've being in this for 11 years now, I'm observing how this has all come back. And it also attracted, we have lived in this industry for years now with what we popularly call grifters. This industry, like all financial industries, attracts grifters. And I saw it at Bitcoin 2022. You have a lot of people showing up saying, I love Bitcoin, and then when you get talking to them, they're pushing a shitcoin, right? So I would say at least 20-25% of people there were fake Bitcoiners. Well, once again, Michael Saylor is kind of leading the way, right? He just did a deal with Silvergate.
Yep.
And so he put up some Bitcoin and borrowed $200 million to buy more Bitcoin. And I was talking to some folks at the conference. I believe he paid 5.25%
Mhm.
for that, which is Aladdin is a service. I think that they are. It's a 7.9%. As you say, you can get rug pulled on the volatility without having a longer term instrument. So that would be helpful. But clearly, you have this pristine asset. So if you can borrow against it, then you don't get the tax liability. And for a lot of us, our cost basis, is in the single digits. I would imagine that the institutions and the banks that make their money making loans principally are going to get more involved in this core business that they're in. They're in this core business as more banks become custodians, and that's a fairly recent development, right? Mellon Bank in New York is now a custodian for Bitcoin, and banks have become official custodians of their Bitcoin. So all the infrastructure of the banking is coming to Bitcoin. It allows for them to offer traditional types of products, and there will be competition amongst these banks, and so interest could come down, should come down, and the power is shifting from the fiat money world to the Bitcoin world, and the Bitcoiners are starting to have a lot of political clout in Washington. They're having political clout in different countries around the world. They're having clout within corporations that are pushing for greater Bitcoin exposure on the balance sheet. So Bitcoin is becoming, as we've often said, it's such a perfect asset and such perfect money, and it's so indisputably perfect that its path toward this type of domination of the financial world was inevitable, as everybody says, and so now we're seeing that play out. Well, Simon and I, going back to 2013, we started Bitcoin Capital 1, 2, and 3, which was really the first VC fund in Bitcoin. And at that time, the focus was on exchanges. My background is really with exchanges, and the exchange business is really one. There's only two businesses that have come out of this industry, and that's the exchange business and the mining industry. And so the exchanges have done really well. And so now in 2022 with El Zonte Capital, it's really focusing on hyper Bitcoinization. So anything that takes us closer to creating a circular economy, like we saw in El Zonte, in El Salvador, the people there are getting toward living on a Bitcoin standard, where they're paid in Bitcoin, they're spending Bitcoin, they're saving in Bitcoin, and they're completely divorced from the IMF and the World Bank and all the colonial interests that come from up north in the U.S. We're looking at startups, early stage companies that are going to be pushing the hyper Bitcoinization mantra forward. Certainly, you would definitely need more education. So anything in ed tech is education technology would definitely be looking at it. But I'm also discovering on the ground what's happening. We're in El Salvador quite often, and so we're just out there actually kicking the tires, talking to people, and finding out on the ground what people are doing. It plays into this idea of toxic Bitcoin maximalism, and where does that come from? It comes from the fact that if you've been doing this for almost 12 years, you're starting from a position where literally 100% of the people on planet Earth were against this idea or hated this idea or refused to accept this idea. Bitcoin is very, very different in that respect, because if you come up with something like, a better mousetrap, right? The world will beat a path to your door. Innovation creates demand and creates all kinds of momentum economically. And we've seen this in many industries, but with Bitcoin, because you bring innovation to money, actually the first response anyone has is to throw up, because you're taking something that they hold dear to their psyche, in their consciousness, and you're saying that's wrong. Everything you've thought about money is actually wrong, and nobody wants to accept that. Nobody wants to deal with that. So from the very beginning, when you keep telling people you're wrong, the response is, well, you're toxic. You're toxic. You're a maximalist. That's what people respond, because they're being told that they're wrong. over and over again. And so it's hard to be on the side of a Bitcoin, believer, because you're having to, it's like being an exorcist. You show up in the middle of the night and Linda Blair is on the bed trapped in a fiat money devil.
Bitcoin has fallen below $40,000 for the first time in almost a month as the investors in the space assess global macro risks. Now, the $30,000 to $40,000 corridor has appeared as a short-term target once again, and we may see Bitcoin stage a replay of its behavior from Q1 this year. On the other hand, Terra keeps buying Bitcoin but loses $96 million. Data from its wallet confirms that the Luna Foundation Guard, LFG, the nonprofit organization attached to blockchain protocol Terra, added another 2,500 BTC or $100.4 million to its reserves on April 13. This means that Terra now owns 42,400 BTC, worth around $1.7 billion, just 800 BTC less than Tesla's corporate treasury allocation. The purchases have so far come at a price. From being nearly $200 million in profit on its stash, Terra is now nearly $100 million in the red, thanks to the latest Bitcoin price dip. So what are your thoughts about Max Keiser's take on toxic Bitcoin maximalists? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.